Okay, so I'm gonna send over via the Zoom chat. I'm gonna send over to anyone who is who wants to follow along. If you have, actually, let me just understand. Does anybody have Claude Code installed and um, and is interested in following along? Or yeah, just okay, great. Okay, okay, awesome. Thanks. Extra credit points, Scott. Um, so we will we'll continue assuming you have Claude installed, and then please raise your hand, Scott, if you run into any technical connection issues, because I'm sure there'll be some things along the way that trip you up, and I think it'll be really valuable to show the class how we work through that, because that is literally how you use Claude Code. Is you're going to run into problems and you use Claude to get unstuck. I don't know how many times I send it screenshots. I'm like, I don't know what this does. What does this mean? I, and that's really so we can jump into my notes here. So if you got everyone can have access to that Drive folder. All there is a Word document and a photo I took of a really crude sketch. I'll bring all that stuff up on the screen so we can take a look at it too as a group. Um, but I think what I wanted to start with. So this is the class. The number one takeaway that I want everyone to walk away with is that everybody if you made it through into the Zoom call, you have really all the skills you need, and that you're all capable of doing this, right? Every single one of you. Everyone already has all the knowledge you need to build with AI. And if you need help along the way, just ask AI. I've found it to be a great teacher. It doesn't judge me. It doesn't say, "Oh, you've been a professional for 23 years. You don't know how to do this." None of that. No judgment. It has infinite patience and it has access to so much information, right? Just so leverage that and don't be shy about that. So beyond that number one takeaway, I have a handful of other lessons, other things that I'd like us all to feel like we've learned after this session. So the basics of navigating Claude, how to structure a prompt. None of this here is exhaustive. So I preface all of this to say this is a crash course. I guess I didn't write it here, but it's a crash course. So this is going to give you enough to get started, but there's lots of learning left. So the basics of structuring a prompt for the purposes of this course, the importance of planning and documenting before you write any code, strategies to manage AI's memory limitations, using images like the one I uploaded to the Google Drive to communicate with AI, the use of GitHub as your project history, I'll call it. And I call it like an undo button in case you need it. And then testing with AI and asking AI to find its own mistakes. And then just some commentary on not settling for what AI gives you the first time and like not being afraid to push it and to really go after and try to find your answer. So the beginning here, I won't spend much time in here. You all are in the class, so I don't need to tell you why you might want to take a vibe coding class, but I have some thoughts there. And then why did I want to host this class? I won't talk about all these points, but I am a long time believer that the best way to learn something is to try and teach it. And I would also say when I went online to learn about this technology, I found a lot of coders talking about how to use AI for coding, and they used a lot of terms, a lot of software, and I didn't know what they were talking about. And so I spent a lot of time Googling and asking Claude and having to understand it to understand enough so that I could build. And so I just wanted to share that and save other people time. And then I'm really excited for every one of you because especially if you're just getting started, this is such a brand new technology. And this is I'm really bullish on this. I think it's really going to make a big difference in how people work. And so to be part of your individual journeys, that brings me a lot of joy. Okay, so let's jump into it. So the method here is I'm going to ask Claude to build, and then while we wait, we can learn about some of these topics, which I have kind of broken into here. So the first thing I'll start with is how to structure a prompt. So I'll go through this really quick, and then we'll go ahead and start using Claude immediately. And then again, this is an open conversation. Don't be afraid to come off of mute and interrupt me or ask any other questions. Okay, so the first thing I really want to warn everyone is that AI is designed to please you. It wants to be as helpful as it can and as compliant as it can be. So it's always going to stretch and try to give you an answer. And so to accomplish that, it's going to make assumptions, and that is where you can get into trouble. So we're not programmers necessarily, or if you are a programmer, um, but I'm not a programmer, and so I have to rely heavily on the code that AI writes. So I don't have, even if I have basic coding experience, the amount of code that it generates, it'll take me way too long to really understand what's going on there and to troubleshoot it. So I am unfortunately very reliant on it for that. But where I do have power is defining the requirements for what it's going to build, including how to test the code, right? So in that way, I treat AI as an assistant, or like like an assistant at work you would. You clearly map out what needs to be done and clearly define how you're going to test what's the work after your assistant has done this or your intern has done this. And you can be very strategic there, very on purpose. And maybe you're not too, maybe you don't necessarily see how they get it done, but you understand what they're trying to accomplish. And so all of that begins in the prompt. And so that I have a couple of tips, some of my recommendations when it comes to prompting with Claude Code. So there's 4 pieces here. The first is AI has the whole internet to draw upon to answer your question, but that's not always a good thing. You really want to give AI a perspective from which to answer from. So when you're working with like a ChatGPT or even Claude Chat, which we'll talk about in a second, things like, let's say you're creating some marketing material, right? And so you maybe want to give the chat bot, hey, from the perspective of a marketing professional, right? And that way, what you're about to ask it to do is it's not taking the whole internet's knowledge into account. It's trying to um, grab the expert's point of view on how to answer your question. So that's one. And in the context of Claude Code, it's a little different. What's really important there is it needs to know what's your motivation, where are you coming from, again, to limit its perspective. You don't want it to take all the internet into account. You want to try to limit that and give you the best answer for what you're trying to accomplish. Next is you'll ask your question, like, what do you need? Which is pretty straightforward. Most people ask, what they need. But in there, I would say, try not to be vague, right? So if you get something and you're like, oh, I don't like that, make it better. AI has no idea what to do with that. You really have to be clear. And again, treat it like an intern. Just telling an intern, make it better, is not going to necessarily, how many times are you going to have to tell that intern, make it better, before they happen to arrive at what you wanted? So try to be as explicit as you can in terms of what needs to be improved about this. And so be as clear as possible with the outcome you're looking for or the motivation behind your request. These all kind of feel kind of the same, but they're subtly different. So motivation matters. So let's say, hey, I'm trying to create, as a marketing professional, create I'm having a yard sale. As a marketing professional, I need an announcement email or my Craigslist post. As a marketing professional, I need help generating the Craigslist post because I'm having a yard sale this weekend, and I really want collectors of Lego products to come because I'm getting rid of my son's Legos. Like that's very specific. Or you could say, help me write a post for my yard sale, right? And so in the first one, I mentioned the marketing professional. I mentioned Craigslist. So maybe there's a certain format that works best with Craigslist. I mentioned Lego and the fact that your outcome was maybe to, and I didn't say it, but maybe it's to get the top dollar for your son's Lego collection. That shows the motivation of what you're after. That context helps so much to get you closer to what you want. And the whole goal here is to be efficient because, like, we're using AI to save us time, right? And so if you have to run through prompts 10 times to get what you want, maybe you're not saving as much time. So anyway, and then the last thing, and this is the cheat code. I learned about this year, and it's changed everything about how I work with AI now, is checking to see if AI needs clarification before it tries to answer. This has, again, changed everything. Um, Earlier, I said it tries to assume, it makes assumptions on your behalf. And now I'm basically forcing it not to make assumptions on my behalf. I do not want it to continue until it is clear, and I am giving it permission to ask me questions until it's clear. Right, so I wrote this kind of long, convoluted prompt, but honestly, this is pretty similar to something I would give to AI when I'm asking for a feature request. I won't take the time here because I don't want people to glaze over, but these are some of the prompts that you'll see, and we only have really one prompt that we're going to go through today. It's a pretty lengthy prompt, but yeah, these are the four kind of takeaways that I would ask you to consider when you're working with Claude Code. Okay, so as promised, I'm going to jump right in, um, and we're going to talk about the interface as we try to give it our prompt, right? Oh, one pause. So we care about a makerspace. That's how we found this class. And so my goal here is to create a imaginary makerspace web application. And this application is going to help us coordinate because we want to reserve equipment. That's the goal today, to create an application that allows you to reserve equipment. And when I used to be a makerspace manager, this was a challenge, right? Making sure that people understood when equipment was operational, and then like who reserved it and all of that, right? So we played around with a few different Google Calendar sheets or like whatever, everything was a little clunky. But now, oh man, if I could have a tool like this to use in my makerspace, oh, I could make it. You can do a lot with it, and hopefully we'll show that today. Okay, so I just fired up Claude, and the top left part of the window, there are three options. There's chat, there's co-work, and there's code. And we'll be working on a code today. But I did want to briefly talk about what the different pieces are here. So navigating Claude desktop. So chat is just like ChatGPT. The only thing I would say is a little different, except it doesn't generate images or videos or anything like that. So it's not really built for creating files necessarily, although it can create, it generates code, but usually the results live in the results exist in the chat thread. So like maybe it'll create a file. Here it created, as I was prepping for the class, like it created this. Hold on, let me find it because it's actually good. So like here's an example. Well, this is just text, but so this is just text as well, but here it's coming up. Oh, this is curious. So here it's giving me it's a format. It's just text, but it's like do you want this kind of a post to Eventbrite, or do you want this kind of a post, right? So there's a little bit of interactivity here, but this is what I wanted to show you. So here it created a file of a .jsx file type, which I'd never heard of before. And when you hit open, the right side of the screen opens up and it previews what's going on here. So this is very similar to Claude Code. Claude Code also has the right side of the window where it gets to preview things it's generated. So here I am in chat, and it did generate something with formatting and interactivity. It's usually not great, I'll tell you, because again, it's really trying to fill in the blanks and really make a lot of assumptions. But if you spend the time and you work with it, you can refine and you can make it better. Anyway, so I don't want to get too off topic here. So that's what chat is. Chat is just like ChatGPT, with some limitations, some enhancements. Co-work, very interesting. I recommend, that's beyond the scope of today. I'd recommend go watching some videos, learning about it. It's agentic, meaning it has an agent or multiple agents. Ultimately, you give it a goal, and then Cowork is going to go and use whatever tools it has at its disposal, which you control, to try and accomplish that goal. That's a big deal. That's rather than, hey, what's the weather like today, or what's the best way, when I hike Joshua Tree, when I take a hike in Joshua Tree, like what are the best hikes that are under 2 miles? Like it'll do a web search and give you a result. This is much different. This is saying, hey, I like to plan I don't know, I have a weekend free, and I would like to plan something where that maybe appeals to both my girlfriend and my 2 kids. And these are some of my girlfriend's interests. These are some of my kids' interests. Um, you know, I don't know. We're only free this day, this time. Give me 5 recommendations that are happening, events that are happening over the week in within 10-mile radius or something like that, right? Like it's a lot more than just like a simple search. It's involved. Some research has to happen, some things have to, and maybe along with that is, hey, can you create a PDF that blah, 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 and sorts that? And, you define a goal, and and the agent is going to have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get there. So I don't have a lot of experience using Cowork, um, but it is a very powerful tool. I've seen people do some pretty interesting things with it to automate a lot of their work in life. Code, on the other hand, is very similar in the sense of you give Claude a goal in terms of what kind of code to build, and it will generate the code required to accomplish that goal. So it's really optimized for writing code, especially. Um, Anyway, I was about to jump into different languages, but again, this class is for non-programmers, and non-programmers like me don't really care about languages. I don't care if it's JavaScript or Python or C++, and whatever. Um, okay, but it generates files. It could be multiple files, multiple directories. It can create dummy files to go and test your application that you've made. It can take screenshots. It can do just a lot of work. Okay, so the next thing, those are the 3 pieces of it. And so the next thing is we are in Claude Code. Let me go to code. So now this is as if I just started up, and it wants to know this area of the screen I want to draw your attention to. So this is asking me, where do you want Claude to run? So right now it's set to local, so it's on my local hard drive. But if I were using the mobile version of Claude, like you can go to the website Claude.ai, fire up your account, and you can get to Claude Code, if I remember correctly. In that case, it wouldn't be local. You'd be running off of the server, like the I don't know, the web server. Um, a question?
Oh, yeah. Can you show us how to do it on the website
Yeah, let me take a
also?
quick. Let me see. So if I go to Claude.ai, okay, I'm going to log in with my credentials. Okay. Okay, so I'm in here, and then on the top left, I can click this sidebar, and then here, like the fifth one down, it says code. Do you see this? Or you could just type in claude.ai/code, apparently. And then here. So these are, and I don't do much code online, although I've done it from like the coffee shop just to experiment.
Yeah.
Do you
Thanks,
see?
Oscar.
You got it? Okay, awesome. So look here. So here my options are very different, right? I have just a couple of options here. I can add a new cloud environment. This is basically like a project directory. But I really haven't done much work online. There's a lot of advantages, of course, because then you could take it where you're going. But mostly I've just worked locally. So this is local. And then the next is important. When you choose local, now it's going to want to know, okay, where is your working directory? So that's something is very, very important, is that just like at work, you might have a project folder, and that's going to hold all the contents of your project, right? Schedule, PowerPoint, budget files, all that stuff should live in that folder. That way you don't lose track of it. You don't have files all over the place. This is no different from that. So let's create a new folder. So this is an old folder. So I don't see the folder. These are for old projects that I've worked on. So I don't see what I'm looking for. So I'm going to hit open folder. And then I'm going to go to where I keep my projects, Claude projects. And if you don't have a folder like this, you can create it right now. You can just create a folder and then go select it. And so here I can hit new folder. I guess I could have just hit this button down here too. I think that adds a folder. But here I'll create a new folder, and I'm going to call it makerspace demo, and then enter, and then I'll hit go, and then I'll select that folder. Okay, boom, we're done. So now I'm at the makerspace demo folder. I'm at my local, and I am ready to go. But I want to point out a couple of other things now before we get started. So on the right side are the models that are associated with my chat, with my session. So this is a session that I'm about to start. The same way that you would in ChatGPT, every time you go to that ChatGPT, it starts with an open field, ready to accept. And every time you add a question in there, that's starting a brand new session. But in ChatGPT, they also on the left, just like in Claude, there is a list of previous chat sessions. Right? So this interface for code is the very same. Every time you come, you can start a brand new session. But imagine you have one project and one project folder. You want to be careful and make sure every time you start a session that you are pointing to the same project folder. Otherwise, let's say today I was working on an ice cream store website. And I was working really hard, and I had an ice cream store down here as my project working directory. But then tomorrow I'm working on my car wash website project. And if I don't remember, when I create my new session, if I don't remember to change that working directory, all of a sudden I'm gonna mess up my ice cream shop website because I'm putting all these files that are supposed to be a part of my car. So it's a big mess. So just take care when you create a new session that you choose the right working directory. And you may ask, why would I create a new session? Why don't I just go to the left panel and choose my ice cream shop thread or session? I'm gonna talk more about that in the future. I think to build, to build big projects, even hobbyist size big, I believe you're going to need multiple sessions. We'll talk about why in a second. Models. So this session has many options in terms of what models to use. I won't go in depth, and this is a great thing to go and learn about, and go ask Claude, what's the difference between these models? Or beyond that, effort. There's low, medium, high, extra high, max. What are all these options? For now, for the sake of time, just leave it as default. But the impact here is these different models cost more in AI tokens. So for AI to work, it has to calculate, and depending on what model you're using, you might get different quality, you might get different speed, but there's going to be a different in cost. So tokens, and with your memberships, we have different amount of tokens per week, per month, whatever the new charging model is for AI, and it's constantly changing. So literally over the weekend, Claude just, I think, doubled the amount of tokens that you get for your membership, whether it be Max or Pro account or whatever you had to do. But anyway, the implication is these different models and these different effort levels translate to more or less tokens being used, which means if you're on a limited plan, you could run out of tokens if you're not watching these things. So again, leave it as default for today, and then I challenge you to go educate yourself and find out what's right for you, what's right for your budget, all those things. And then finally, this one right here is very important too. You can toggle between what mode you're working in. And my recommendation, which we'll talk about in the next little section here, is to begin in plan mode, right? So I'm almost ready to bring in my prompt. Does anybody have any questions on what we've covered so far? I kind of threw a lot at you at once. Okay. So we're almost ready to give it our first prompt. Oh, there's more here. I want to come back to this. I don't want to talk about. So I'll give you all these notes. And so I'm telling you where to go to settings and where to go to app extensions. I'm not going to go into detail, but if this is something to go and research because it matters. It says how much your ability to work with other applications. What I'm trying to say is you get to control how much access Claude has to your data, to your other accounts, your Gmail, you get to control all of that. You can turn everything off, you can turn everything on, and that's really up to you. And that's pretty much it for this section 2. Okay, we're making good time. The third part, documenting before coding. Okay, so this, I mentioned earlier that my cheat code this year was asking for AI to ask me. So this is the second cheat code that I learned this year. And this one came very natural to me. I used to be a product designer. And it was very important for us before we started creating any products, any 3D models, that we understood what our requirements were. And that's obviously, the nature of our business, just how we operate. This felt very natural to me. So a product requirements document is a foundational document created by product managers to define the purpose, features, functionality, and behavior of a new product or feature. And this is important. And this is all taken from, what's it called? One of those agile project management tools. I forgot the name of it. It aligns stakeholders, designers, and developers on what and why of a build, the what and why of a build, serving as a roadmap for development to ensure the final product meet its intended objectives, right? So this is great because it helps everyone on the team to stay aligned, right? But you might say, hey, what do I need to create this document for? It's just me. I'm creating this application. I'm working by myself, right? But no, you're not by yourself. You have a very knowledgeable, eager to please, but frankly, sometimes dumb AI assistant. And you need to collaborate with that assistant. So you have to treat it like separate from your mind, because it truly is. The PRD will help to make sure both you and the maybe multiple AI agents are all working together. It's very important. The other huge benefit is that when you go out to create something, you may think that you've covered all the bases. You might think you've communicated all that needs to be communicated about it. But in reality, you've probably left out some things. You have some blind spots. And having a PRD can help reveal that. And honestly, Claude is an expert at things like PRDs because it has the whole internet to reference. It's seen millions of PRDs. So it knows what should be included in a product requirements document and what you might have left out. So that was one of the biggest things. I was working on a big project, and I asked Claude. I was like, okay, let's look at my PRD. What did I miss? What should I be included in this PRD? Did you make assumptions? Did we omit it completely? And it went in and it was like, oh yeah, here are 5 things that should be in your PRD are not there. Here are 3 things that I just made assumptions for you. Sorry. And so then we went in and cleaned it up. We changed some of the assumptions and then agreed and approved some of the assumptions. And then I filled in details for where there was totally no requirements, right? Lots of edge cases that in the future would have broken my app. But the PRD helped to consolidate and understand, what should be there, what is agreed upon. And so it's really clean. The other great thing about it, and this again, sorry if I'm nerding out, these AI companies are rising and falling, right? And so I don't want to be anchored to one model only. Like what happens if Claude Code shuts down, right? I have my PRD because I'm not a programmer. I couldn't rebuild this thing, right? If I have my PRD and the actual implementation, like the actual finished product, I could go to any AI coding assistant and say, "Oh, by the way, these are the requirements. This is what we built. Learn all this stuff and get ready because I'm about to make some feature updates." Right? Then I still own it. I still control it. But everything, if instead everything is trapped in a chat window, good luck. And a lot of people learned that recently. Recently there was a bit of an exodus from ChatGPT into other AIs, and people were struggling to pull their information out of ChatGPT and ingest it into some other tool. And so that taught me, like, never again. I always want to have my files mobile. I always want to be able to, pick up and leave if I need to. So PRD has lots of benefits. So here are my best practices when it comes to PRDs. First one, it's okay if you don't know how to write one because Claude knows how to do it. It's an expert. It'll teach you how to do it. Use plan mode. So let's go back to Claude really quick. This is plan mode. Plan mode will not generate any code. Plan mode is all, as the name suggests, is all about planning. It's only when you move into these other modes where you can actually generate code or edit code, meaning you could possibly delete code, right? And so that's scary. Creating file, especially as the first time you're touching this, it's a little scary to think of something else going out and generate. Now, I'm very used to it. I'm hitting approve. Okay. So there's different models here. So the first one is called ask permissions. And in this mode, it really won't do anything unless you approve it. So it's actually a bit tedious because it'll need to do 10 things and it'll ask you to, do you approve? Can I read this file? Can I write this file? Can I even look in this folder? It's like an intern on day one. They're very scared to do anything. They don't want to break anything. So on the other hand, accept edits, it's very autonomous. It might ask you once in a while. It might say, hey, am I allowed to go do this? And then you approve it. And then it'll go back and do that every time for this session. Every time you start a new session. And not to get in the weeds, but you can configure Claude to always treat it a certain way, to always allow you to, let's say, look at a certain Google Drive folder for your requirement. I don't know, something like that. So as you get more comfortable, you might relax a little bit and allow the AI to have more freedom and more autonomy. That's really up to you in terms of what your risk threshold is and all of that. It's like investing. So, okay, so that's pretty much it. So let me direct us to the Google Drive folder. I lost it. In the folder, I think I have. I have a folder called, should be Makerspace Hub. Okay, and then within here, I created a prompt, but I want to walk us through the prompt because there's nothing really magical about this. I don't want you to think like, oh, he had the prompt, so he could do it. This is not. This is nothing special about this. So let's see. Can I? Okay, so this was the beginning of just a chat session. I literally copied it. So I built what we're doing today. I built it like a few hours ago. And so I just stole it from that session. Hey, Claude, I want to create a new project. This will be in support of my local makerspace. I want to create a web application that acts like a hub for our communication. I'll want to create a GitHub repo, and I'll explain what that is in a second, for this project, and I want to connect it to Vercel. I'll explain what that is as it's working. Note that I will want to generate a product requirements.html file, maybe I'll write file, where we store requirements and evolve them over time, right? This is what I was talking about before. So the overall purpose is a personal community web application for Fab Lab members, change that to Makerspace, to reserve equipment and tools in advance, eliminates scheduling conflicts, and gives members visibility into machine availability. Now, you may notice there's a different tone all of a sudden. And that's because I did, before this document was generated, I had a conversation, a lengthy conversation with Claude in Claude chat. I told him, hey, I want to create a class for non-coders, and we went back and forth, and we talked about what could it be? Could it be, you know, a little simple web page? Could it be, you know, my ice cream shop example? And together we settled on the idea, hey, let's do something that contextual makes sense. Let's do something for a makerspace. And over time, we came up with this concept. Again, no, there's no rocket science. I literally just had conversations like this, and we just talked about it. And at the end, it spit out a document. It spit out this text and not a document. And so that's why it might sound a little formal, because Claude wrote this, but it only wrote it after we had a lengthy, over a long Starbucks visit. We worked through what we were going to do today. So that's just the tone, but all of this came from my mind. So the full product roadmap, and this is just for fun, we can't build all of this in 2 hours. Equipment reservation, which is what we'll talk about in this document and what we'll do today. But you could also do things like, oh, the equipment was left a mess. It was dirty. Oh, we want training materials. At each station, maybe I can have a tablet and I can really quickly pull up, you know, how do I operate the 3D printer, like a refresher video or something. That's useful. I always wanted to do that when I was a lab manager. Buddy system, that was one of our biggest challenges in the Fab Lab, because sometimes you need 2 people to be there if you're going to operate certain types of equipment. So how do you schedule that, especially when it's after hours of the weekend? You know, not everyone has a work phone. So how do you do that? Maybe you build a simple app that can do it anonymously, you know? Anyway, just ideas over coffee. Okay, phase 1, Fab, this is the primary users are the Makerspace members who want to reserve a machine or tool in advance, and other members that are checking what equipment is available and when. So kind of the same idea. The features, they want to create a new reservation. I want to know, what is the equipment name? What is the member name? What is the date, time slot? Maybe the purpose of the project. We want to be able to view all upcoming reservations in a clear calendar or table, be able to cancel, and then at a glance, we want to see what equipment is booked versus what is available. That's kind of our core feature request here. And then out of scope is a bunch of stuff that will require just more time. Database integration, like to really make this functional, you would need to do these other things. But by the way, do not be afraid. I've done these things. I've created a web page that has database integration. And to a coder, it's like, okay, big deal, Oscar. But to me, that's a really big deal. Again, it's live. I use it. I use it every day, actually. I made this planning application that helps me organize my life, right? Whether I'm buying deodorant for my son or I am, tracking the, oh, sorry, tracking my weight, the distance I've traveled this week, like jogging or running. Just like I made this thing, and yeah, it has a database it talks to, and it's not hard. By myself, I don't know if I could have done it, but Claude walked me through every step of the process. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of more things that could be done. So here, this is kind of another part of our puzzle. Is what is the user interface going to look like? So this is something I want to take a pause to talk about because again, Claude will make assumptions on your behalf. So if you just give it the functional requirements and you don't tell it how you want it to look, it will just make assumptions and it will fill it in. And the trouble with that is that it can be pretty generic, right? It can be pretty generic. So it is best to take the time. If you care, you might not care. You might just want something very functional, and that's good enough. But I would encourage you, stretch a little bit to go and see what would you like this to look like. Because again, if you tell the intern make it better, it doesn't have any direction, and so you might not be happy with the results. So it is worth your time to try to understand what would the user interface look like, and what it will force you to do is you'll realize, oh man, I hadn't considered these requirements. This is actually a real example. So today, well, really literally like 2 hours ago, I was like, oh, I better make an image, right? Because I'm about to do this thing. So pardon my chicken scratch, but I was like, okay, I think it's like, I'm going to select the material. I want to use a lathe, right? And I think it's a down selection. So we'll start at the top. There'll probably be lots of different groups of materials, right? You don't want a 50-page line item, like a 50 line item, like, oh, is it a 3D printer 5 or is it lathe number 2? Those don't make sense to be next to each other. So I thought you'd have a down selection. Like, what group is it? I was like, oh, metal machining. And then of the metal machining equipment, what is it, right? And then, okay, now what day are you talking about? So I just scribbled. And then, okay, now that you're at the date, and then I thought, I wouldn't want to get all the way down here and then see that my lathe is all booked up. So allow me to select multiple lathes. So that's when I went back and I was like, two selected, boom, If you notice, none of this is in the PRD. This extra feature of double selection, this whole thing, none of this is in the PRD yet. And it matters because this simple decision to allow for multiple equipment at the same time is not documented in the PRD, and it only came about once I tried to understand the UI. I realized, okay, a user really is going to want to be able to see multiple. That way they'll see all the lathes and then they'll just choose. When I'm scheduling a meeting through Outlook, sometimes I'll pick like five conference rooms that are in the same floor. And I'll look which one's okay. Oh, only this one's ready. Delete the others. Boom, boom, boom. And that's fast. Rather than adding one, oh, that's full. Adding the other, that's full, right? It doesn't make any sense. So the same sort of idea here. But I'm trying to stress this point. Thinking about your UI can reveal features that are required, and therefore the code has to be updated to support it. So this is worth it. And so then at the very end, you'd have your confirmation, you had your lathe, and then you just scribble in your information, right? And so, yeah, this literally took me 5-10 minutes just thinking about it. So that's what this means. Sorry. That's what that UI, to be populated from sketch upload, right? I'm just going to put that in the prompt. And then you'd be amazed. Claude knows what to do with that. It's like, oh, are you going to you want to upload a file? Go ahead and send that to me. Very, very helpful. And then you get to talk about design tone. I didn't spend a lot of time here. This is purely Claude. So I don't really trust that it's going to come out great. Functional utilitarian. Okay, that automatically doesn't sound like a beautiful thing. I think let's change it. Let's see, we want to create a warm and inviting, oh my goodness, I can't spell it, environment. We want members to feel welcome. So I'm using a lot of soft words here to try to drive the tone, right? I haven't actually told it any stylization or anything like that. Probably would be really valuable here is to include an image from a website or an app that I think did it well. That would be a really, let me, let's see, I will need to upload an image to I don't know, communicate the color palette options. I'm going to upload the image for the class, the little graphic. And then here's the success criteria. And this, again, a PRD can be much more involved in this. This is just the initial prompt, and it's going to generate a PRD from this. Now, this is the big question. Do you understand what I'm trying to accomplish? Do you have any clarifying questions? Right? That's the big, you cannot, especially when you're at the beginning here, you can't leave that out. Okay, so whoever's following along, go ahead and grab this prompt. I can also put it in the Zoom to make it easy. No, I can't. I don't know how to find the windows. Here it is. Here it is. So there, I put it in there. You can copy paste from there. Oh, did somebody raise their hand? Okay. Okay, so let's do it. So again, I'm back and I'm about to start a code session. I have the right folder created, working directory created. I'm in plan mode, so nothing's going to be generated. I'm going to literally just paste this in, everything we just had, and hit enter. And now it's going to say, hey, do you trust this workspace? That's the level of care it's taking in the very beginning, right? It's still in plan mode. It doesn't want to, hey, am I allowed to look at this folder? Yep, please trust it. Okay, so it's going to work for a few minutes as it digests that. But take note, it will stop and ask questions because I asked it to. And so you're okay to leave this window because you'll get a little pop-up once it's, you'll get a little pop-up here once it needs your attention. So let's go back to our notes here. And again, if anybody has any questions or any thoughts, feel free to share those. Okay. So let's talk about this section 4. AI has memory limitations. This is a new concept for me. I never thought about this when working with ChatGPT. But this is something I've learned about recently. Okay, so just like the human mind, an AI session has a finite memory. So just like Oscar cannot remember an 8-digit phone number or maybe a 10-digit phone number, right? Long ago they found that maybe 7 is an optimal number for most people. There's a limitation to what we can hold on to normally. AI is similar. It has limitations. If you go beyond that limit, AI might begin to forget things that you discussed at the beginning of the session. Right? You can imagine you could have a multi-day session, a multi-day chat, and at the end, AI will forget what did we talk about last Monday? I forgot. So it'll start to hallucinate more. It'll start to assume, and it'll just plain not have any recollection of it completely. So that matters because when you're writing code, you might want it to understand what what its directions are. And that is another reason why you have to have a PRD. You can't rely on the chat thread alone to hold on to that information. So for bigger projects, you want to break up your chat into multiple sessions. One thing I was doing in the beginning is I would check with the AI. I would say, how close are you coming to your context limitation? Context limitation, that's like the technical term for it. Oh, look, we just got a pop-up. Claude wants our attention. So we can go back and ask, but let me finish my point here. If you don't remember that, you can just say your memory limitation or something like that. Online, other experts, or I'm not an expert, experts have said 75%, somewhere in there, 60 to 75%. Once you're at about 75% of capacity for memory, that's a good time to switch over to a new session. But what I've actually found is every time I'm doing a major feature update, once you're done, once you've implemented it, you've tested it, happy with it, just start a new session. That's a good breaking point. But before creating the new session, you're gonna need to do a few things. So before, let's keep this thing going. I'm gonna go back to Claude and see what it's asking me. Okay, so it understood the vision. It restated the vision. Phase 1 is an MVP. It's gonna look at the working directory. It's empty. I literally just created the working directory. I couldn't find much there. The directory is empty. Okay, it's gonna write a plan. It has a few decisions to make the shape or the structure of the application. It wants to know the tech stack. Okay, so this right here is a beautiful part of Claude. I don't know if Chat GPT has this or other AI have this, but I love this interface. So when it is built and ready to ask me questions, and not only does it give me a field to answer with, but it gives me recommendations. And as a non-coder, this is a blessing because I couldn't tell you what the hell Next.js or TS or Tailwind even mean. I don't know. But Claude, based on my requirements, is recommending that this is the technical stack that we use. And they're talking about the languages that are used to build this application. Other options are written here as well. And then below in the finer text is giving you a little bit of the justification for why you might want to do one or the other. You could easily stop this whole thing and you could say, you could start a chat session right here and it won't interrupt this. And you could search each one of these if you wanted to really get under the hood to understand, hey, what is the difference between these three tech stacks? Or here's I'm gonna screenshot. I wasn't planning on doing this, but just to show you how powerful this is. So I'm gonna go to chat. I'm gonna start a new chat. It's taking a minute, 1 second. Let's see, chat, I don't understand the difference between these tech stacks. Can you summarize for me? This is legitimately how I use this software all the time because I don't know anything about these things. And okay, watch this. Let's see. This is still too complicated. Can you explain to me like I'm a middle schooler? Again, AI is not going to judge you. So, I'm a little hesitant now because I have colleagues on the line. But yeah, so it can dumb it down for as much as you want. Right? So never hesitate. And this is so empowering. This means I can learn anything. If I can screenshot it, I can learn about it. So yeah, I'm not even going to bother to read it. I really, because I recognize Next.js. I've used it for other websites and Tailwind. Again, I couldn't tell you what they do, but Claude seems to think it's a good idea. So I'm going to try it. So I'm going to choose the recommended one. Next question. How should reservation time slots work for phase 1? Do you want fixed hourly slots or do you want people to say maybe morning, afternoon, evening? maybe freeform, 5:35 a.m. and then 6:20 p.m. I don't know. No, I want hourly slots, nice and simple blocks. Next, where should the equipment list come from in phase one? That's a good question. So a hard-coded list in the configuration file, or I could give them the list, or an empty list, members add equipment as needed. I think I'll seed a sensible, oh look, the option is it's going to create a list for us, a sensible list. And for our demo purposes, this is good enough. But in reality, in the real, I would come back to, actually, I'll add this. So I'm going to say, let's see, please provide a hard-coded seed list in a config file, but create this application in such a way that in the future, we build a module that allows admins and lab managers to manage the equipment. Adding or removing or taking down for repairs, right? So this is something else as a tip. You may not be ready to build these features, but the fact that Claude knows that those are coming in the future, it can build it in such a way that it's easier to bolt that feature on in the future. And it really does matter. The limited information I know about coding is that the structure does matter. Not that say that you can't go back and rewrite, but it's so much better if you can give it context as to what's coming down the line. So I'll hit next here. I have more comments on what I just said. Where should the PRD HTML live? Should it be in the repo, the repository, also served at -prd route? So let's see, a single source of truth in the repo, viewable at GitHub, and accessible live on demand. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, look here, just a PRD HTML in the repo only. Yeah, this is what I want. I just want a file that I can read, I can share. I don't need it available at the URL. And anyway, it's not a really critical decision. It's not going to change either way. Okay, so I chose, and now it's gonna get started. And again, we're in plan mode. It's not generating any code. I asked it to create a product requirements document. Now it may come and ask me, hey, I'd like to see that image for the UI. And it may also come and ask, hey, you said something about an image for the tone and the color palette. Oh, here it is. Hold on. So what hours should the reservation board cover each day? 9 to 9 p.m. Sure, why not? We can change it. What should the default reservation view look like? Day view, equipment by time grid. I'm going to say, see my UI image, or let's see. I'll upload a UI image. Ask questions if that image isn't clear. Okay, we're at 2 o'clock. We have an hour. I think we're gonna be fine. We're gonna make it. Let's see. Without authorization. This has to do with like the user accounts, right? So we want authentication, not authorization. So in the future, to really build an app like this, you'd want every user to have their own account. They'd log into their system, and then we would know who they are. But we don't have that. This is phase one. We're not going to build that yet. So without phase one, how should cancellation work? Anyone can cancel any reservation. Yeah, for today, we'll do that. Where should the app and GitHub repo be named? Okay, so I'm going to call it the Makerspace Hub, and then we'll see if it has any more questions. So I know to some of to some of you, you might think like, man, there's a lot here. This isn't very exciting. And it's true, a lot. And this goes back to my my first comment that was about documenting before you write any code. That's what we are doing. But I want to impress upon you the time that you will save by doing it this way. You should be much more happier with the results. They should be much more in line with what your original vision was. Okay, let's see if we figure. Okay, limitation. It has AI has memory limitations. So we are in one session, but if we were to go and build phase two, I would highly recommend that we start a new session so that we don't run into the memory limitations. But before you create that new session, I would insist that you update the PRD with any new requirements that you may have developed along the way, and that you commit changes and push to GitHub. I'll talk more about that after once we actually have something working. And so I walk through here some notes on click new session in the top left of the window. Make sure you choose the right working directory. If you've already, by now you've already connected it to GitHub. We haven't done it yet, but in the future you would have. And make sure it's pointing to the right GitHub directory. And then there's more here, and we don't have time to go into detail on this 2-hour call, but this is definitely things to Google and to ask Claude about. Is Claude has what's called markdown files or .md files. These files can be referenced both when Claude first opens and then also when a session within a specific folder is started. So what I mean to say is there's a memory file globally for all of Claude Desktop, let's call it, or if you're on the web, Claude Mobile, there's a memory file there, and that applies to all the projects. But then there's also can be memory files at the project level. So let's say you have memory for your ice cream shop, and that's different memory and different memory from the car wash site. And there's might be specific things that you want them to keep straight, right? Like what's the manager's name for the car wash? What's the manager? I don't know. But you do have that power. Now you have to be careful. You can't put 3,000 lines in the memory file because as soon as it loads that MD file, it'll consume all of its memory, right? So this is the purpose of the MD files is to put like the critical things that the critical information that you need to survive from session to session, along with the PRD. So you can use them in combination. MD file is good for preferences. How would you like these sort of things to be handled rather than requirements? Requirements, I say, go in the PRD. Your preferences on how you author, the decisions you're making. A great prompt at the end of your session, you're ready to go, is, hey, what did you learn about our development process? And can you update the MD with that file? That's gold. Because then if you continually do that, your memory's constantly getting smarter and more attuned to how you work, right? So the other thing I would say is worth learning about is skills. So skills is a way to, in a small way, automate. So if you find yourself doing repetitive tasks, if you find yourself having to do 2 or 3 steps over and over again, ask Claude, how can I use skills to automate that? And that word means a certain thing to Claude. And so it can create something like a subroutine, I'll call it, or it can go and do a bunch of functions for you. And then you can easily call that skill. So let's say you wanted, hey, I've never done this before, but check my Gmail, look for, I should have done this. I was at a conference this week, actually. Check my Gmail, check for any updates to any new emails from that pertain to the manufacturing conference this week, and create a daily summary of like new emails related to the just like maybe what are all the new LinkedIn connections that I made? Create a email summary of new connections, their company, and then cross-reference that with my itinerary to see like where I might have met them, like what talk did I meet them. I don't know, just. But anyway, Skills is awesome. It's a great way to kind of supercharge and move faster because you're just you're able to automate steps along the way. Okay, so that is AI has memory limitation. Let's go back to Claude. It is. Oh, look, it's waiting for me. Okay, it's ready. It needs two things. Upload the two images you mentioned. The UI layout sketch. Okay, so I can add a file or photo. So let's move it kind of slow. I have a lot of applications running, maybe that's why. So I'll go to, I think I put it under documents. So let me check. Nope, that's my ID. Oh man. Let's see, where did I put it? I know where it's at actually. It's in this folder. Let me call it. You know, actually the best way to do this, I wonder if it will store it. The best way I've found, and then I'm sure I know where it's at, is I go get the file. So right now I have the UI concept in this other folder. Again, I was experimenting earlier. I'm gonna go to the right folder, Makerspace demo. It's empty. I'm gonna paste in the UI concept. And then the other file downloads. Oh, I was gonna include, sorry. Oh, I'm including the, here it is, hero. This hero image. I wanted to draw the colors and the tone from this image. And then let me just double check to make it easy for it to find it. Color palette. So then I'm gonna rename this file. And Claude's smart. It'll like, oh, this is color palette. I get it. So color palette. So I'll copy that. I'll go back to Claude projects, Makerspace demo. Okay. So color palette and UI concept are there. So I'm going to say, check the project folder I just uploaded. Let's see, note that on the UI image, the no, I think it's fine. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Actually, no. Note in the UI image, and I'll bring it up. So what I imagined here is that in mobile, goodness, that these would rotate, these would, you could swipe, let's say you had many items that I could swipe to the right or left. That way I could quickly get to that. That these would scroll. That's what I'm trying to say. So rows 1, 2, and 3 can scroll to accommodate, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Rows 1, 2, and 3 can scroll to accommodate I don't know how to spell it. Nothing like a live demo. So accommodate multiple or a large number of equipment or reserving far in advance. Okay, I think I'm ready. Okay, so now it needs to make the plan. So it's gonna make a plan. Okay, let's go back to our notes. Limitation, images, we just did it. Using images is the simplest thing. It is an amazing way. I did the screenshot, asked for help. I'm sending it a UI. I sent it this other graphic that we made, or I made for the class, right? I made this thing in ChatGPT or Gemini or something. And I like the tone of it. Like, hey, make the app look like this, right? Imagine trying to communicate that in words. Very difficult. So I've been very impressed with its ability to interpret images and even make sense of my back of the napkin scratches. Incredible. And then the great thing is troubleshooting. Oh my goodness, taking screenshots. Hey, this doesn't look right. Why are these things overlapping? And then it'll figure it out and fix it from there. Okay, let me double check. Is everybody still there? Where's my window? Okay. Okay, so I think we are, so it's looking at the image. Let's keep going. GitHub. Okay, so let's talk about GitHub. I didn't get a chance to generate real notes for this yet. So maybe chat can help us real quick. Let's see, in 3 lines, can you describe what GitHub is and what are the benefits for a junior or for someone who is new to coding and unfamiliar with GitHub? I don't know. Let's try it. So GitHub, it's a website where you store your code online. It's like Google Drive, but for programming projects. It saves every version of your work, so you can always go back if something breaks. That's why I called it like an undo button. For beginners, the big wins are you'll never lose your code. You can experiment without fear. And you can share your projects with a link to get help from others. That's also good. It also plays nicely with tools like Vercel and Claude Code. So once your project is on GitHub, deploying it live or letting AI work on it becomes very easy. Let's see, great. Can you do the same but for Vercel? Let's go see while it's working there, let's see what Claude has to say about what it came up with. Let's see. Okay, it made a plan. So for the purposes of the class, I'm not going to read through it, but I would recommend, especially at the very beginning of a project, you really want to make sure that it's understanding your requirements and where you're headed. So it gives you the context. It just summarizes your inputs based on the Q&A, the decisions that were made. And then it describes the layout in words. It tries to anyways. It gives you this human readable kind of structure. This is very familiar. Again, I did this earlier today, so it looks very similar to what it came up with earlier today. There's some things in here that I don't know too much, like I don't really understand, like all this Tailwind stuff, the CSS, like I don't know. And then now it starts to show kind of the structure of the equipment. So here is, remember, we chose it to seed the database, not the database, but the website with information. In the future, we would have a manager come and populate this with the real specifics of the equipment. But just for testing purposes, it just made up some stuff. And then this is just like, it's an API, I guess, from that equipment file into the website. So just talking about how those things communicate with one another. Anyway, so there's a lot here. You don't have to understand all of it, but I would definitely, if this was my project, my baby, I would read through it and try to understand as much as I can. And you can always ask questions. You can always come in here and like, hey, I want a revision, and really just ask a question and get through it. Take screenshots, copy it, whatever. But yeah, I would spend time here to really understand that and make sure we're on the same page before we start generating code. But for the class, I'm just going to accept it. So now something just happened. The whole thing went into auto mode. So it's going to do what it needs to do to accomplish this goal. Um, I'm pretty relaxed here, so I give it some freedom. For your initial installation, it might still have you hitting accept, accept, accept. And you can always talk to Claude to see in the future, how do I avoid all these accepts? How do I relax and allow more freedom? Okay, so let's go back to Git. So we talked about GitHub. I don't know if there's any questions about what GitHub is or how it works. And next is Vercel, which I found Vercel just because I was building something in Claude Code and I was like, hey, I'd really like to host this online. Can I do that for free? And it was like, yeah, go to Vercel. So Vercel's a website that takes your code from GitHub and puts it live on the internet. You click a button here in Claude, and a few seconds later, it's literally online. You don't have to do a Squarespace account, Shopify. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's just, it's alive. It's living there. For beginner, the big wins are no server setup or hosting headaches. Every time you update your code, it auto deploys. You get a free link to share your project. It handles the boring stuff for free. The HTTPS, which is like a security thing, fast loading. For a hobbyist, it's absolutely amazing. And I think they have free. I mean, they have paid versions too, where you can, if you're planning on like having more traffic. Yeah, and then anyway, you have your code. You can go put it wherever you want. You can go pay for a web hosting service, and you own your code. It's in Claude or it's on GitHub. So my point here is that these three work together. So you build in Claude, you do all of your revision history in GitHub, and then you connect GitHub to Vercel so that you can get to online deployment. And if you have it set up correctly, in seconds, you make a change, boom, you see it online. Very fast, very, very useful. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So let me go back to see if it's waiting on me for anything. Nope, still working. Okay, so in the meantime, I'll go to GitHub. I got to be careful here because I don't want to reveal anything online that I don't want to. I don't want like access to things that are not supposed to be accessed. So the point here is, and this is really maybe watch a video, or actually don't do that. Just you don't need to know all of GitHub. You just need enough to know to accomplish what I described. So you need to be able to push information into GitHub. So if you've created an account, you can ask Claude to, hey, please create a repository for this project. And we did that as part of our prompt. So here at the top. Here it is. I will want to create a GitHub repo for this project and connect it to Vercel. So it's going to walk us through the process. Now, I have connected these two before many times. So it's probably not going to ask me as many questions as it would ask you. But so if you try to do this for the first time, don't get too frustrated. Again, screenshot, ask Claude, this is the error I'm getting. How do I resolve this? And it will walk you step by step through the process. I'll show you actually. Earlier today, I forgot how to connect GitHub to Vercel. So this is the one I did earlier. I was like, I'm getting an error. And I can be a little bossy when I'm talking to AI. I'm just like, I don't know what this means. What am I supposed to do? I'm getting an error. There was another one. No, I did this already. I'm still getting an error. Yeah, here it is. I'm like, I'm not sure what to do here. It's literally saying, hey, use GitHub Mobile to confirm your access. Or if you're having trouble, send an email, right? But I didn't understand what I was reading. So I was like, I don't understand. And it explained it. It was very patient. It was like, hey, this is what you need to do. Either click the GitHub mobile button or send yourself an email to authenticate yourself. I was like, oh, okay. So don't worry. If you run into an error, just ask Claude. Claude will walk you through what you need to do. And I'll walk you through some of that here too, because we're going to run into an error as we try to push the Vercel. So we're near the end of the class actually, and it's funny because we're just getting started in the code. But I am pretty confident this is going to work the first time, and that we'll at the end here we'll just be configuring Vercel to GitHub, and then you all can preview it online and play around with it. So are there any, while we wait for this to cook, is there any questions, any thoughts? Is anybody still online? All right, yeah. Got 9 people here. I'm so thankful you guys taking time out of your day. This is so awesome. Maybe just for inspiration, let's see. So I created this. My girlfriend and I are going to Spain in August to see the solar eclipse. So we were struggling to organize what's booked, what's not booked. How do we get from here to there? Because we're going to do this this trail, El Camino trail. We're going to hike for 3 or 4 days. And so there's a lot of, oh, where are we going to stay? How are we going to get there? Where's the bus? It was a lot to organize. And so I made this website to help us day by day understand, okay, well, on the 10th, we're going to be in Valencia. And then we're going to go take a flight here. And then, okay, we're going to arrive here this day. And then we're going to walk this many miles this day. So I'm telling you, this would be unheard of for me to create on my own. And this did not take me hours and hours and hours. This take like 3 sessions, maybe an hour each session at the most, maybe half hour some of the sessions. Mainly it was little tweaks here and there, right? Like even like here's the cost breakdown, right? So like here's what everything is going to cost. I didn't prepare a spreadsheet for this thing. No, I just walked it through what I thought it should look like, and I drew a little sketch that was like, yeah, I have the cards and I could scroll. This works on the mobile too. I can work on my phone. I'm just showing you this as encouragement that you'd be amazed. There's so many things in life that like we just wish we had a little help, a little tool, something to help us with. And now you have it. You $20 a month or whatever, you got it. Okay, so it built it. It's right here. Now we probably won't, oh no, I'm sorry. This is the, it's still working. I got excited. This is the PRD though. So this is the PRD that was built, the product roadmap, the user, the features that we talked about, what's in and out of scope. Oh, and here's where it was describing the user interface that it got from the image. Oh, look, it even included, it looks like, the hand-drawn image. Here, oh, look, the colors. It pulled the colors from the color palette. Talks about the tech stack, all these decisions that we made via chat. It's now in the PRD. So if this chat session blows away, I'm not afraid because I can come to my Makerspace demo folder, and I can find. Let me check. In the documents folder, here it is, the PRD HTML. So this is mine. This isn't going anywhere. Look, even my crude sketch is locked in here. Very powerful. This alone would take me an afternoon to write. But now I can take this to another AI code, another AI platform, and say, hey, can you try to make this? Because I wasn't too happy with my results or whatever. I'm ready to make updates, right? No problem. Very, very powerful. Okay, let's see. So, okay, running install in the background. Looks like it's still working. No issues. As long as this is still blinking, you still have a heartbeat. So you're still fine. There's only been like maybe 1 or 2 times where I've seen it fail, and then I've come back and like, hey, are you okay? And then it'll pick back up. That's usually been like overnight. I'm having it run something overnight, and I come back and there's an issue. But look, oh, it succeeded in some installation of something. I don't know what it did. And now it's validating types and configurations. Again, whatever that means. I don't have to know. Almost done. Let's see if I had anything else in my notes. So using GitHub, and then here we go. How to, testing with AI. This is going to be a little harder. I think it will try to test, but what I really meant by testing with AI is what you can have it do is create, let's say a user would normally have to enter information. And so you could have it say, hey, I would like John Smith to reserve a 3D printer, a Prusa, on May 9th, and have it do it and prove that it can work and show you the results. Maybe we'll ask it to do that if it finishes on time. That's what I mean by testing with AI, because the help that you get from AI, it doesn't have to stop at just building. You also can put it to work to test, especially if you have weird use cases. You want to cover all your what they call the edge cases, so like the very strange ways that somebody might use your application or your website. You can put those, hey, I want to check for these new features. I mean, that's normally what would happen is we'd find a bug. Oh, so-and-so tried to input this information and it broke. So I'm like, okay, well, we found a bug. We found something, we need to be able to deal with that situation. So I'm like, hey, when someone tries to reserve a Prusa at midnight, the website shouldn't crash. It should tell them that's outside of the operating hours. Give them this message, and then sure enough, it'll create that code, and then it'll also test it. It'll try to reserve at midnight, and it should verify that it gets that message, and then okay, you're done, and now you get to finish the job. Okay, so again, we asked it to do quite a bit, and so it's working. Almost there. I wish there was like a little bar that would say how far it's coming along. I mean, in the meantime, I can cheat and I can show you what the results were earlier today. Let's see. This is like in the cooking show when they'd put it in the oven and then they'd immediately pull it out and show you the results. Same idea. Okay. So here's my test run. And then here is the URL. So this, again, this doesn't know about the color palette because I added that with us. So maybe we can compare the results. So here's the Fab Lab Reservation Hub. Again, I hadn't changed that word yet. But the different groups are here. Here are the groups. So 3D printers, whatever. So I wanted metal machining. And then I clicked next. I didn't really want to have to click next. I kind of wanted, so that might be a revision, is like, hey, I want it just, if I click the thing, just accept it. Don't make me have to hit next. And so now that I'm in equipment, which one? I'm like, oh, I want both lathes. Remember that for my graphic? I want to check both lathes. Okay, next. And then, yeah, I want to check for next Friday. And then check out here the reservations. So currently, these things are already reserved. This UI doesn't make sense. This wasn't part of mine. It kind of assumed this, right? Because in my PRD, I said, hey, I want a way to see all the reservations. But this interface makes no sense. What if I have 100 things reserved? It's going to be very hard for this to work. You could just have a giant list to scroll. But anyway, it did its best, but it hasn't thought it through. But that's why you revise it. Okay, so step 4, pick a time slot. And so here if there was something already reserved, it would show. So let's say I'm going to choose 4 p.m. Oh, and look, it only allows me to choose one at a time. I missed that. I missed to say I want to be able to block it out for multiple time blocks, multiple hours. There you go. That's a feature enhancement that I would need to talk to it about. So next, and then here's my reservation stuff. So I'm John Smith, and that happens to be my number. And now when I confirm, there it is. Metal machining, May 15th, John Smith. Now what I want to do is go back to metal machining, go back to my lathes, go to the 15th, and look, 4 p.m. is reserved. John Smith already has it. That's insane. Like, I don't know how long it would take for me to build this. I would not know how to start. Nuts. So, look, okay, it's up and running. It's previewing. So look at the color palette. It's different. It matches the thing that we added, and I think it's doing this live right now. Actually, I think it's testing it right now in this window. I thought I saw some movement. Maybe not. So another thing I like about coding with AI is when it's busy doing this, I can go wash the dishes. I can go. Go ahead.
Oh, Oscar, that data that you just entered, right? Like with your number and your reservation, where is that data stored? On which site? Like on GitHub or Vercel? Or what? Like,
Very good question. So because of this look, it's updating in the window here. Because this is a demo, this hasn't been connected to a database yet. So I did not think I'd be able to finish the database connection on this 2-hour call. But I promise you, using another website, I can show you the website. They have it's called supabase.com. And this website allows you to host small, simple databases. And so what we can do is we can build a little project within your Supabase account, which is free. And that life planning app that I had talked about, it lives here on my Supabase account. So what you would do is you would store all the entries, all the reservations, you would store them in the database. And so when the website was going to be shown, it would pull from the database. It would not pull from where it is now, which is like literally in my memory of my browser. So like here, so we've only built basically the front end, they call it, the what the user sees.
correct.
So watch this. I'm going to hit refresh. And look, my reservation's gone because it's not stored anywhere. It's not what they call persistent. But it's very easy to connect it to Supabase and for it to be live and functioning. It's very simple. Okay, look, it's done. Any other question?
No. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's get to this last piece of the project. You're still, can you go on mute, Shumi?
Yeah.
Okay, should I create the GitHub repo for you? So I've already worked with GitHub on my Claude account, so you may have to do some work to connect it. If so, again, you can ask Claude, how do I connect to my GitHub account? So it'll need to connect and authenticate you so the two can talk to one another. But I use it quite a bit, so it doesn't need to do that for me. So yes, I want a public repo. So that's also, something else to know about GitHub is if it's a private project, you don't want anyone else to see it, you want to make it a private GitHub. If it's public and you're free to share it with anybody, you can make it public. I don't care, this is for the demo purposes, so here it'll be a public, and it's gonna try to create it for me. And then should I deploy to Vercel? Yes, but I know it's gonna fail because the way my GitHub is set up, it needs me to manually give it permission to share with Vercel, but I'll walk you through that really quick. Yes, deploy after GitHub push, it's recommended. Okay. This is exciting, it's almost done. We can see it here in the preview window. Okay. So it's creating the GitHub, and maybe I can follow along in real time. Let's see. Oh, look, it's having some problem. Could you confirm in the chat? Yes, create the public repo. That's weird. I've never seen that before. In the meantime, it appears to be live here. I wouldn't know where it's at though. Hmm. Oh, look, it created it in GitHub already. So let me go here. Let's see. I'm going to refresh. Makerspace Hub, here it is. So it pushed all the contents of that folder, that project folder, it pushed it to GitHub. So even if my computer here blew up, I wouldn't lose it. So 2 minutes ago, it committed all these changes. Next, how would you like to deploy to Vercel? So I'll import via Vercel new, which is recommended. So I'll click yes. Again, I think it's going to have some challenge because I'll show you the way your initial thing will be set up. Hold on a second. There is a packages. You know, I don't know how to find it, but I don't have to. Claude will show me how to get there. Okay, look, it isn't authorized locally. I can't run it from here. Is a better path. Vercel to GitHub integration via the dashboard. This sets up an auto deploy, which is what I talked about before, which is actually what we want. And let's see, which is much better than one-shot CLI. So this takes 60 seconds. So first open up Vercel new. So I'll open it up. And then, hold on, follow the instructions here. Sign in with GitHub if you haven't already. Click import. So I'll sign in with GitHub. I don't see it here. Where is it? I'm searching for makerspace. Oh, look, make sure to grant Vercel. Here it is. This is very important. Make sure to grant Vercel, this is the website hosting, access to your Git repository that you'd like to import. So these that are shown here are all things that I've already given access to. So I want to add missing a GitHub or missing a Git repository, adjust the permissions. This is what you want to do. Maybe I'll screenshot this, put it in the notes. That way. Okay, hold on a second. Oops, this is not the right application, sorry. There it is. Where is it? Where is it? I think it's right here. Okay, so I'm gonna do that really quick. So I'm gonna get my GitHub permissions. And this is that screen I was talking about. So if you don't have the GitHub mobile app, you can just send yourself a code via email, but I do have the app. So let me authenticate myself really quick. Okay. Oh. Approve. This is just proving that I am who I say I am. Okay, now we're on the screen. So if you scroll to the bottom, these are all the folders that have access. So I want to select a repository. This is the hardest part of the whole day. I'm going to choose the Makerspace Hub because it's in GitHub. Remember, I pushed it there already. I'm going to choose it. I'm going to hit save. And now it's here. That's it. That was the hardest part of the whole day. Import. Now it's going to pull from GitHub and put it onto Vercel. So it asks me, okay, this is the name. This is everything is okay. I don't understand half of these things. I'm just going to hit deploy. Thankfully, it's all set up for the most common use. So it's getting started. Boom, 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 couple seconds. Interesting. Let's have some Next.js issues. I'm just going to share that with Claude when it finishes. It's just a warning, some secure, I think it could be more secure, but it looks like it'll still build. Oh, something else. I think it's done. Inspect deployment or go to project. I'm going to go to the project. Oh, what happened? Oh, it does want me to upgrade this. Let me send this. Okay, good, good. So this is how this works. You're gonna run into problems. Let's see. When deploying to Vercel, I got these errors. Let's see, should I hit upgrade or can you take care of this here? And again, this is what's so powerful about this is that you don't have to know what's going on here. You can just share, and Claude knows all the code. It knows everything it just did. Look, it so it says that it's going to take care of it itself. And this is very common. I guess normally as part of my work, I do demos, and hitting an issue like this in front of a demo, in front of a live audience would normally, get me a little stressed out. But I'm not stressed here. I know this is normal. This is par for the course. There's always little hiccups, and Claude can figure it out. So we're running up at 10 minutes here. We're very close. Okay, so he's going to bump the version of this I guess this JavaScript issue that we saw, so that we get rid of this security warning. And that makes sense too, because things are always being updated to deal with new security threats. So that's just part of hosting an application. Again, if you were just running this locally, maybe there's less of a risk, and you can ask Claude, is there any security risks with what I just built? To better understand things. And again, that comes in terms of my prompt recommendations, right? So Claude may look at something in terms of just trying to create a makerspace app, but if you were then to say, hey, can you review all of my code from the perspective of an information security professional, and tell me what are my vulnerabilities and what are some like mitigation strategies, it'll give you a report. Yeah, and so that context really does matter. And not to get too off topic, but the newest thing is this concept of using agents that collaborate and work together. This conference I just went to, I heard a number of people talking about this concept using in manufacturing, using AI agents, and them all working together. So in one case, you might have an AI agent that acts as your production floor, like your voice of your production floor, and another like technician feedback. Another might be trained to your standard planning operations or something. And another one might be, again, from an IT perspective in terms of building and maintaining software. And next, you might have your information security specialist, right? And then all four of those groups would have to work together to build, the best tool. And then meanwhile, there's a human orchestrating the whole thing, reviewing the code, and eventually delivering a product that meets the motivations of all four. That's a brand new concept. I've never heard of that before this year. And there's companies that are really working hard to pursue that. And so you can kind of mimic that, right? And so just to zoom out a little bit while it fixes this is another big reason why I'm so happy to learn about this technology and share it with other people, is because even if we're just playing around and it's a little bit of a hobby, I and you are learning these concepts that are coming to work, that are coming to play very, very soon. And so the better we can navigate that, the better we can understand it, take advantage of it, be prepared for it, co-work with it, all those things. That's so many benefits for us all. So I really appreciate, again, you guys taking some time your day off to sit and learn with me. Okay, 7 minutes to go. Let's see if we.
Hey, Oscar.
Yeah.
Um, there was like a guide that you were kind of going through. It looked like it was maybe HTML. The screen's a little blurry for us, I think, too. I don't know if like the resolution's really low. I don't know if it's our connectivity but yeah, this one. Is this something that you made that you've been using?
Yeah,
Is it?
I'll send this out and I'll make
Okay, I
sure.
was gonna ask. Yeah, thanks.
So you're saying it's blurry right now?
Yeah, like the text is kind of unreadable for me, I know, and
Weird.
I know a couple other people were sharing that in the chat as well.
That
But
is bizarre. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
it's all right. I mean, you've been explaining everything pretty well, so we're all just happy to be learning this stuff. This is really cool stuff. So
yeah, I
yeah,
will it should be very visible on the video, and then I will definitely create a like PowerPoint from this so you can take a look at the details of the text. But yeah, I've been pretty much reading word for word right off of the notes.
for sure. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Oh, man, 6 minutes. Come on. Don't fail me. So close. Any other questions? Any other comments? Any ideas? Things you might want to build?
So, Oscar, we posted a question in the chat
Sorry. Yeah, what was it?
um, about if you make changes to the Git repo by yourself, like you add a function or a module or something, and then you ask Claude to make other changes, would it go back and read the repo? It doesn't know that the repo has been updated, right?
So that's a really good point. So if you are in the habit of doing your own repo updates, you're pushing your own code, you can always ask Claude, hey, can you compare our version wherever we're working from, whether it be in the cloud or local. Can you compare what we're working to what's in the GitHub repo? And it'll compare, look at the dates, the commits, and it'll say, oh, you're out of date. Do you want me? And it'll even say, do you want me to pull the latest? Because then we can get started. So now, the trouble, I ran into this. If you don't remember to check, Claude won't know. So what I ended up doing is I created something in a specific project that said, hey, Claude, when we start a new session, I want you to check the GitHub repo. I do that every time. And so now it's a little annoying, but it's worth it. It checks every time for me to make sure that I didn't make some mistake. Now my issue I wasn't making my own repo updates. I mistakenly branched. I didn't again, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So I mistakenly made a new branch and I moved in a parallel path. And then that's why GitHub was out of date. And then I forgot to commit. I forgot to merge, I forgot to commit. It was a mess. So I lost a whole day's worth of work just trying to straighten it out. But now I have a check that makes sure that I'm working from the latest. Okay, I think it finished, pushed. Okay, let's go back. Let's check to see. It should auto deploy. Okay, I'm gonna hit refresh. And am I in Vercel? Yeah, I'm in Vercel. Come on. Oh, let me try to redeploy. No. What did it say? Hold on a second. It says I don't have to do anything. 37 seconds ago. Wait, no, 10 minutes ago? Is that 10 minutes and 37 seconds? So I'm gonna. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's been updated yet. Let me see. Sorry, we might go over just a second. Screen. This one. Okay, so this one, look, this is the one I want. I want to select it. Aha! Okay, I'm gonna click the, let me copy the link so I can share it with you all. All right. With 0 minutes to spare. That's amazing. Hold on a sec. Let me share this with everybody. There we go. So metal machining, lathe 1 and 2, May 15th, 1 p.m. I'm Oscar. Oh, and I can even put my purpose. Remember from the PRD, the purpose? Let's see, I'm messing around. Confirm. Oh, I gotta put my name. There we go. All right, that is it. All right, let me open the Zoom. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Sorry, I wasn't able to watch the chat. I'm on a desktop, so I only have one stupid monitor because I only have an HDMI. It's a big mess. Okay, awesome. Thanks everybody. I'm really excited to see what you guys build. So I definitely recommend, you got a whole weekend in front of you. Download the app, download the pieces to it. I'll send out all my notes and build something. Just build a hello world. Just get a little one page out there. And I'm telling you, working through these little hurdles, the little bumps that I had, once you've worked through them, the next one will be 10 times as fast. You'll just fly through that process. So there's really nothing in your way. So back at work, we can talk about what we're experimenting with, what we're building with. I'd love to stay in contact with you all because there are AI tools that are coming to us at work that approximate this. They might be a little older, but they're getting there. And I'm actually excited about hosting a hackathon. We should definitely do a AI coding hackathon to really, start things off at the Fab Lab. Is there any questions before we sign off? I'm recording this session. I really hope it worked well, the session. Otherwise, yeah, I'll share all my notes and you'll be able to read all the notes there. Anything else?
Yeah, I was curious, the Supabase for like the backend storage for holding the data for your HTMLs.
Yeah.
That's Supabase, SUPABASE.
Yep.
Correct.
That's it.
I was looking at it. Have you used it before? Does it require like a cost for subscription or anything like that?
Mine's free. It's limited, of course.
Cool.
If you have, there's limitations, but yeah, I'm using it right now daily and it's free.
Nice. Awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's cool stuff. So like the only thing that you're really paying for like
Claude.
all of these steps is the Claude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, I know I've messed
Thanks,
around in
Oscar.
Claude a little bit, but yeah. Sorry. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this is awesome.
Okay. Anybody else? Any final questions? Okay. Thanks everybody again, and yeah, thanks for taking the time out. Feel free to reach out if there's any other questions after the fact. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.